Good evening, Nick family. Thank you for joining us. Hopefully, you had a good week. We got a lot to get into today. First, I want to shout out Sam for allowing me to host the show. I appreciate that. Chris, who's with me on the panel, I appreciate you, Chris. Shout out to my fellow NBA panelists on Nothing But Knicks, Nothing But Love. And then also the NBK family of shows. We got you covered for all your Knick content. You go to the Nothing But Knicks YouTube channel, you'll see a list of the Nothing But Knicks family of shows. And also shout out to Devon and BX Jetty, Knicks Real Talk. I was hanging with them last night, talking to Knicks, talking to Giants. Giants picked up a wide receiver. I don't know about that. But anyway,
we need some linebackers.
On to the Knicks. The Knicks came into the season, into this week since our last show on an 8-game winning streak. They were 33-27 in fourth place with identical records with Atlanta, but because of the tiebreaker, Atlanta was in the fifth place. Not much has changed other than a loss. So let's get one loss, I should say. Let's get to the games that we played. All right. So since we last did the show last Friday, we played Toronto. We beat them 120-103. And our streak went from 8 points. Let me just move this over so I can see it more clearly. There we go. Toronto came into the game 12th in the East, tied with Chicago, who was in 11th place, and also one game out of the play-in, the 10th seed. So Toronto came in with something to play for. In their last 5 games, as you can see here on the chart, they were 4-1 and actually on a 4-game winning streak when they played us. So they came in hot. The Knicks came into the game on an 8-game winning streak, and the Knicks pulled it out. I just want to, I know this messes with the flow a little bit, but I did want to point out 2 things, and then I'll get to Chris. Chris, do you want to comment on each game, or you want me to go through all 3 of them and you comment on the end?
We can go through all 3.
Okay. All right. I want to point out in each of the games we played this week, some things that I think are important heading into the playoffs. Okay. So when we played Toronto, we beat them 120-103, but Toronto played really good defense. And they made it really hard for us to get into our sets. They made it hard for us to get to the spots we wanted to get to, especially actually Randall had a pretty good game. But this is what happens in the playoffs. And we'll get into that more later. Teams dial it up a little bit.
Yeah.
They make it difficult for you to get to your spots that you like to get to. They up into you when you're trying to take your shots. Everything is tougher. And you notice that with Toronto. And the Knicks struggled a little bit. And I think that's something the Knicks is going to have to get better at in the playoffs, being able to play through tough defense and being able to take the shots they want to take and not just the shots that the defense is giving them. The other thing that happened in the Toronto games, they played a little bit of zone, not too much. I think the Knicks are shooting better. They're hitting their threes at a better clip. So they didn't stay in it for long. The Knicks did better against the zone, but in the playoffs, I believe teams are going to play more zone against the Knicks, and they have to move the ball quicker. They have to be better at it. They're going to see more of it. They saw a lot of it in the early in the season, not too much right now. But if the Knicks are going to be successful in the playoffs, they're going to have to be able to attack that zone. Any thoughts on that before I move on to Phoenix?
I wrote some of that in my notes too. I think the teams already know that if they doubled out on Randall, he's going to pass out. And we're not really consistent. We probably got 1 or 2 guys that consistently hit the 3, but we're not consistent. And also, Randall has to decide how quick he's going to get into his moves, because I think sometimes he waits for the double and then he gets to a point where either the clock is running out or he has to make like a frantic pass to somebody to try to get out of it. So I think we need to really work on that, on the zone, and then, getting the ball out when you see the double coming.
Yeah, yeah. I think that's what I picked up in Toronto. That's going to happen in the playoffs. The defense is going to dial
Yeah,
up. We're going to see more zone. We won that game though. We had a 9-game winning streak
yeah,
going
yeah,
into Phoenix. Now, Phoenix came into that game second in the West,
yeah.
um, but on a 2-game losing streak. They had lost to Boston, lost to Brooklyn coming in. So in their last 5, they were 2 out of 3, and we lost to them 110 to 118. The Knicks were in that game all the way down. We had a 15-point lead. We lost it. It dwindled away some. We were able to get it back to 15, and then we lost it. Booker just gave us the business for the first 3 quarters. Um, I think Bullock had a few good possessions against him, but for the most part, and it happens like that. Bullock is still a good defender, but Booker was just too much for him. In the fourth quarter, though, it was Cam Johnson and Mikal Bridges who gave us the business, coming up with just good, timely shots that extended their lead. And then with a minute or 2 minutes left, Chris Paul, 7 points. I think it was 7 points in a row to pretty
Crucial
much
points.
crucial points, right? To kind of put the ball away, put the game away. But the Knicks were right there to win that game. We talk about, I talk a lot about timely shooting or big shots, right? We need a
Yeah.
shot to extend our lead. We need a shot to get back into the game, whether you call it a timely shot or a big shot. We need a shot. We weren't able to get it. But not just that, we needed timely stops, right? So we would miss a shot. Maybe we still down 3 or down 1. If we could get a stop, we'll get another opportunity. And we just weren't able to get that stop, and they were able to extend the lead. But what, and that's exactly what I wanted to point out going into the playoffs. It's going to be like that. Sometimes you'll get a game and it has a good flow to it, but a lot of times in the playoff, because things slow down, it doesn't have a nice flow to it, and so you'll lose a lead. Um, you'll need big baskets at the right time, and I think that
Mm-hmm.
we've been doing okay with that over the winning streak. But it needs to be more of a focus, not just the shots, but the stops. You're going to need that in the playoffs. You're going to need a stop. Everybody is primed. You're not going to catch anybody sleeping in the playoffs,
That's right.
right? So the Knicks lost that game, and that was the end. That was the end of our 9-game winning streak. And I was very interested to see, even though the next game was Chicago, and people would say that should be an easy game. I was really, I really wanted to see how the Knicks would respond against Chicago. Um, and they did okay. Well, not did okay. They actually won the game. So the Knicks came into the Chicago game 34-28, still holding on to the sole possession of the 4th seed in the East. Chicago came into the game 11th in the East, 28-35, 3-2 um, over their last 5. And Chicago played well up into the third quarter. I think going into the fourth quarter, if I'm not mistaken, we were up 1 and
Mm.
quickly scored like 11 points in like the first six
Yeah.
minutes to put the game away. And one of the things I noticed about this Knicks team is that you have to be able to hang with the Knicks for 48 minutes because they're not going away. And
Yeah.
Chicago was able to do that into going into the fourth quarter. But when quickly hit those points and we went up 6-7, that was it. Right. So if you're gonna play the Knicks, you're gonna beat the Knicks, they're not going away. I don't see this
Mm-hmm.
team getting blown out in any game in the playoffs. It's possible. I don't see it. Um,
It's gonna be a dogfight.
it is. Before we get into playoff positioning, any observations or thoughts on the games against Toronto, Phoenix, Chicago, ending
um,
our 9-game winning streak, actually?
I was gonna wait till later on the thumbs up and the thumbs down, but I don't want to bash Randall. That's our guy. That's our all-star. But as I was pointing out when we watched the game, the Chicago game, a lot of times in transitional D, Randall is kind of standing lost. Like he's not really playing aggressive enough. I don't know if he doesn't want to get in foul trouble. He's tired. I don't know what it is, but a lot of times his person scored and he didn't even like defend. Like Clyde would say, like the Matador D, he was playing on them. So I really don't know, like if that's going to be a problem later on. I don't know if that's something that maybe they tell him to hold off on defense. I don't really know what they're telling him, or if it's just him doing that. But I've noticed a lot of times when we're back on defense and it's a transition, as he's there, he's kind of slow to react. So I don't know if that's going to hurt us. And also, I just think that Quick and Rose have been doing an excellent job in the fourth quarter. He actually plays very well when he's alongside Rose. He's showing a lot. He's showing me a lot. Like he's not playing like a rookie. Like before, I was kind of skeptical about him being in the fourth quarter because he would just pull at the worst time to try to pull for a three, and a lot of his shots is like from damn near the mid court. So, like sometimes I wanted him to go in, but he's been consistently hitting those shots. He's been driving to the basket. So he's mixing it up now. So, that brings another dynamic to the team. And I hope that, they can build on that.
I think the shots that quickly are taken, and they have been pretty far behind the 3-point line. Do you think he practices those shots?
Of course. I told you before, you take what you practice. You take what you practice. And it seems so effortless when he does it. So I can't sit and say that he doesn't do it, because it looks like he has no confidence when he shoots.
Right. Yeah, I mean, I've been impressed with Quickly too. I wasn't a big fan in the beginning of the season. And because I was looking for a more all-around player and hoping he would develop into that. And actually he is. I feel comfortable with him on the floor. And I think he's earned his time. I think Tibbs is going to shorten the rotation a little bit. We'll talk about that a little bit. But I think Quickly will still get an opportunity to play.
Yeah, I think so too.
Yeah. Anything else before I move on to playoff positioning?
My boy Obi been playing. We're going to talk about that later, though.
Talk about Obi. He actually has been playing well. Actually. All right, we're going to move into playoff positioning. The Knicks are still in fourth place in the Eastern Conference. Atlanta is still in the fifth place. And Boston and Miami. Here we go. Boston and Miami, 33-30. They have the same record. Boston is in sixth place, probably due to a tiebreaker. So if the season ended today, we would still play Atlanta. However, I don't think Atlanta is going to hold on to that spot. They are one game ahead of Boston and Miami. Do you think they're going to hold on, or do you think we're going to wind up playing Boston or Miami in the playoffs?
I think we're going to get Boston, Miami, just because of the fact that Atlanta has to learn to play without their point guard. Because he's still out, and I don't know if where's he going to be, if he's coming back, or if he's going to be himself when he comes back. But that plays a lot of to them, because you got people that haven't been asked to do certain things, being asked to do certain things that he was doing during the games, and I don't know if they're going to be able to be up to the task for that.
Yeah, I agree, and then I also want to change. I've changed my mind, Knick family, about the playoffs and about the Knicks. I think coming in, I did not. Well, first, let's put Charlotte out, right? I don't think Charlotte is going to. It's either going to be, anything can happen, but I believe it's going to be Atlanta, Boston, or Miami. And maybe, I think it was a week ago, I wanted no parts of Miami and I wanted no parts of Boston, right? Because of the playoff experience. I felt like these were playoff teams, even though we matched up well with them, and I think we do. I just thought, we don't have playoff experience. They do. They're going to have the edge. I don't want to see them. And Atlanta and Charlotte was in the picture last week. I don't think we match up well with them. But
Mhm.
because they're inexperienced playoff wise, I thought that I would rather play them. And I've changed my mind, ladies and gentlemen. I have
Uh-oh.
changed my mind. And part of it is because, yes, the playoffs are different. And I'm going to go through what's different because if you're not familiar with basketball, if you haven't played organized basketball, you may be wondering what is so different about the playoffs.
Yeah.
But I'm going to specifically go down those variables, those factors that are different for the playoffs versus the regular season. And I just felt like the Knicks didn't have that experience. Boston, like I said, and Miami does. I don't want to play them, right? But it just dawned on me that the Knicks are a different type of team. The Knicks are a mentally tough team.
Yeah.
The Knicks are coached by Tibbs, who's no nonsense, who has a championship. He knows what it's like to play in the playoffs. But you can argue that the Knicks have been playing playoff games already. Anything you
Yeah.
want to say about that before I get into specifically what's different about the playoffs?
I think one thing about Tibbs is that during that winning streak, we were prepared. And I think Tibbs is one of those guys that really works on making sure that they're prepared for battle. And the playoffs, regardless of who we meet in that first round, it's gonna be a tough game because he knows what to expect from them. They already shown what they can give, and he's gonna accept nothing less because you see he doesn't have a problem with pulling somebody and putting somebody else in.
Right.
As we were talking about on Friday, how he's on the sideline, yelling and screaming at them, and just and sometimes even when we were up by like 20 points, he still was coaching. He still was trying to get them in the right position. So I feel that we're gonna be okay. The first round is definitely the second round. This is gonna take a little bit more, but I think the first round, whoever we get, it's gonna be a dogfight.
Yeah. And I just want to be clear when I say that I don't mind playing Boston or Miami, I'm not saying that it's a lock that the Knicks are going to beat
Yeah,
Boston and Miami. That's going to, no matter who we play in a tough series for different reasons, it's going to be a
yeah.
tough series for the Knicks. But I'm just not that concerned about the playoff experience. And so let me just get into specifically what's different about the playoffs.
Okay.
One of them is the atmosphere, right?
Yeah.
The fans, media, being on national TV. I don't think that's going to be an issue for the Knicks. They don't play in a small market. The Knicks are used to the media.
Mm-hmm.
I'm not sure how many fans are going to be in the stands anyway. So I'm not sure how much that's going to be a home court advantage for the other team. And the Knicks actually play well when they're on national TV, right?
They do.
I don't think that's going to be the atmosphere of the playoffs being a bit more different than a regular season. I don't see that being any issues for the Knicks. Do you?
Let's just hope Randall had his hair braided because he seems to play
Randall,
better with
right?
his hair braided.
And as a matter of fact, um, on Nothing But Nick's channel, Sim put out a video of an interview with Fat Joe and Randall was getting his hair braided during the interview, and he
Okay.
actually said the fans will kill me if my hair is not braided. So he know what up. He listens, or he gets the information somewhere. I think that the second thing about the difference between the playoffs and the regular season is the pace.
Yeah,
The
very
game
much fast
slows
paced.
down. There's not a lot of fast breaks. There's not a lot of
Yeah,
transition
yeah, you're right.
buckets in the playoffs. I don't think that's going to be a problem for the Knicks. The Knicks are, if not last, in the bottom three in pace for the entire season. So it being a slower pace, that may be a problem for Milwaukee. That might be a player for other teams who get a lot of their points on the fast break. That's not the Knicks, right?
Yeah, yeah.
So that's not going to be an issue for the Knicks. What do you think as far as pace is concerned?
I think we play good in the half court. I think where our issues come is that when we try to run with other people, and try to get into a shootout. But if we play our game, I feel that we will have a better chance of actually making some noise in the playoffs if we play our game. And our game is actually, passing it around, looking for the open person in the corner and, just driving and dishing out. So I think we should have a good chance in the first round. Like I'm not sure who we're gonna play, but whoever we play, they're gonna have a fight.
Right. Yeah. The Knicks are not going to have to change much.
Hmm.
The other thing that changes in the playoffs is the stakes, the pressure.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah.
If you lose the series, the game is over. Right.
Mm-hmm.
The season is over. So that's a lot of pressure. That's that the stakes are high for teams that want to advance. And unlike the Knicks fans who are happy that the Knicks, like nobody expected this.
Yeah.
So as
Nobody.
fans, we're happy. The Knicks getting into the playoffs, we're happy. If the Knicks would have gotten into the play-in, we would have been happy, right? So
Mm-hmm.
for us, I've heard fans say we playing with house money. It doesn't really matter what we do, whether we're successful. We exceeded all expectations. So the stakes, the pressure, that doesn't mean anything. But for the Knicks, they are goal oriented. They don't think they're playing with house money. They don't think the season is a success already, right? The Knicks have a specific place they want to be. Now, I don't know what it is. I've heard a few players alluded to that. I would think the fourth seed and home court advantage in the first
exactly.
round, but I don't know. But they talk about it, that there's a place specific that they want to be. So for the Knicks, the stakes are high. Think about when we were on that 3-game losing streak. We're on the 3-game losing streak. They're looking at the schedule. The schedule doesn't look easy.
It doesn't.
Right? I'm sure they was
not.
probably sweating because they're goal oriented. We're trying to get to the 4th seed. We lost 3 in a row. I think at that time they were in the 6th or 7th seed.
Yeah.
Right. So now the pressure is on if you're trying to get to the 4th seed. Right. So the point I'm trying to make is, yes, the stakes are high. Yes, the pressure is high in the playoff. But because the Knicks were trying to get that 4th seed, they were playing under that type of pressure anyway, right? They were looking at each game as a must win if they want to get that 4th seed. I assume that that's what they were looking for. What do you think? Do you think, as far as the stakes being higher in the playoffs, more pressure in the playoffs, do you think the Knicks have kind of dealt with that already, or do you think it's going to be new for them?
I think they have a set goal of getting past the first round because everybody's trying to make it seem like they're happy to just get to the playoffs. I think they want to get to the playoffs and make some noise. So I think, like I said, they have to decide what they're going to do, because if they're playing like they were playing the last couple of games where they were kind of going back and forth, letting leads go by, I don't know how the playoffs is going to look, but I feel that the Knicks really feel like they got a chance to win the East. Like they're really playing like that. And Tibbs is probably putting it in their head that at any moment, anybody is suspect to get beat. No team in the East has really shown that they had that power, that finesse where they can really just outright, that this person is going to come out of the East. I don't think no team has established that yet. And I think the Knicks feel, because no team has done that they feel that they can, if they play as a cohesive unit. Now, I'm not sure if it's Mitch coming back or how that's going to relate into, what they're doing, or how his minutes is going to be, if he's going to be minutes restrictions. But, to think about it, when he's in the game and we got those 3-headed monsters, we're very hard team to score against. Our defense goes up.
Is there talk about Mitch coming back?
I don't know. That's what I said. I'm not sure what's going to happen. Okay. He's going to have minute restrictions when he come back, or, because Noel has been playing great. Taj has been playing great. So I don't really know how he fits in. Tibbs might, cut down the playoff and what, let's keep him out and make sure he's healthy, because he got hurt back to back. So I'm not really sure how they're going to do that, but that's something that, we have to look forward to. And if we do have him back, that's going to help us, because, there was times that Taj and, Randall and even Noel was in foul trouble. So we have that extra body.
Yeah, I thought he was out for the season, but if he is back, I'll take it. I will. I would definitely.
Yeah, that's what I'm saying. So I don't know. They listen. He's ready to go.
I mean, That listen.
That changes the dynamic, right?
If Mitch comes back, um, um, that would definitely help. That's all I'm gonna say. That
Yeah,
would definitely help.
yeah.
Let me just shout out some people before I move on. Sergeant Knicks fan, G Man for life. Appreciate you, Muhammad Musa. Hope I said that right. Appreciate you, Michael Mitchell, Vince Bowers, Nika for life, Carlos S, Bodega Wi-Fi, Dale Sinclair. I appreciate all of you. Thank you for hanging out. We just kicking it, talking Knicks, um, talking about this playoff push. I want to get to. I think it's two more differences between the playoffs and um, in the regular season. And Chris, I want to get um, your takes on this as well. Shout out to Josh. Appreciate you. Um, there's detailed scouting and adjustments in the playoffs, right? Now,
Hmm.
I'm team scout during the regular season too, but but you're seeing a team for at least 4 games,
Yeah,
right? And so if you win a game, best believe they're breaking that down, seeing what you did, seeing what they didn't do. They're going to make that adjustment. They're going to come back next game. And you better have a counter. Don't think you're going to play the
hmm,
same way you played and you're going to get the same results, right?
exactly.
So there's going to be detailed scouting and adjustment. I'm interested to see how teams um, address Randall. Are they going to allow him to have his points and just shut down the rest of the team, which may not be that difficult? Maybe, maybe not. It could be a challenge in that it's not just one or two other people. With the Knicks, you never know who's going to step up on any given night. I think the Knicks have the team with the most 20-point scorers other than Randall, right? So on any given night, it could be somebody else. Or are they going to target Randall with the idea that even Tip said he's our engine,
I
right?
think that's what they're gonna do.
So are they going? He's the head of the snake. So are they going to cut off the head of the snake and then not even worry about what the rest of the Knicks do? What's your thought?
I think that's what they're gonna do. I think, like I said before, Randall has to decide if he's gonna be a killer or he's gonna pick his points or he's gonna wait to the fourth quarter. And he also has to make better decisions out the double team because they're gonna do that. I think it was even sometimes he was getting triple team, so he has to really decide, like in his head, like and know where his guys are and trust that they're gonna be there when he throw the ball because a lot of times he throw it blindly. So I'm sure that they're gonna definitely try to do it at least the first couple games just to see how he responds. And if the Knicks adjust to that and be okay, then they're probably gonna wind up playing them, playing everybody at home. But I think initially they're gonna try to see how the Knicks work with just doubling up Randall.
And I think for Randall, the double is not going to be the same. They
Yeah.
may double him on the catch. They may double him, on the bounce when he's trying to make his move. I know Sim pointed out at Nothing But Knicks, one of the shows, that they're playing him with a smaller guy and then bringing a bigger guy,
Mm-hmm.
a big, to double, right? So they're going to throw different looks at him because, again, a team is going to be at least 4 games, right? They're going to make those adjustments and he's going to have to adjust. What I
Yeah.
liked, I don't know if you got a chance to hear the interview with Fat Joe. If you don't, take a listen. What I liked about Randall is he's always looking for that edge. He's looking to make adjustments. He's looking to get better. Like he meditates. He does different things to stay sharp. So I think this is going to be a challenge for him because he's going to get the business as far as game planning. And it's been like that all season, so it's not going to be new for him. Uh, but from game to game with the same team, playing him differently, it's going to be an adjustment for him.
Yeah,
I think he
definitely.
meets that challenge.
I think he does. And I think he also has to be aware that the refs are going to call the game a little tighter too. And you can't get into a whole, discussion with them while the game is on. You got to just kind of suck it up and just run down the court. I know there's gonna be some times that they probably do hit you because it's the playoffs, so they're gonna hit you a little harder. So I would expect a little more physicality, during the playoffs than what he's experiencing right now. But he got to learn to play through it, and a lot of times that takes him out of his game.
Yeah, I'm interested to see how Randall plays. This is an aside. Um, just a really a quick question that came to me. Do you think whether or not the Knicks they're going to pick up Randall's option? Right, I think it's 19 million. If they don't pick it up, he gets 4 million. They're going to pick it up, but he's eligible for an extension. I'm not sure what it is. Would how he plays does how he play in this postseason impact whether or not you offer him the extension or not?
I don't think so. I think he proved that he's our guy during the season. Even getting an All-Star, he's like, averaging damn near triple double, if not close to it, every game. I think that they should lock him up. Our problem is always we have people that play like this, and we either decide not to pick up their option or not to sign them, and they go somewhere else and be an All-Star and come back and kill us. So, they have to decide what they're going to do.
I mean, I definitely feel the Knicks will sign him. I guess it's do we extend him this summer, or do we wait and see how he does in the?
Because I think that gives an incentive to get better. I think because now you the guy, so you can't come in overweight, you can't come in not prepared. The following year, you got to come in ready like you came in this year because it's expected now. You can't become an All-Star and then next year you subpar. You got to build, and I think those pressures is, if it's clearly laid out, and if Tibbs is around for a long time, I think he's going to expect it too from him. And he's not going to expect anything less than him to get somewhat better in some areas of his game, if not overall game over the summer.
Right. I think I want to see him in the playoffs, and I want to see him next season. But there's no doubt in my mind that Randall is a piece. For the Knicks, and that he needs to get paid. That part for me is not Uncle Fulio. Steph, I addressed this in a new episode of Controversy. Okay, I didn't get a chance to. Calling me out. All right, I'm gonna get to it after the show. After the show. I definitely want to see what your take on. The last thing in terms of the difference between the playoffs and the regular season is that the defense picks up. And the defense picks up even if that team wasn't a really great defensive team in the regular season. So a lot of people talk about Brooklyn, that Brooklyn is not a good defensive team, and they're not. But if you don't think in the playoffs that they're not going to take it up a notch defensively, you're wrong. They will. Now, whether that will be enough, that's a different story. But no matter who we play in the playoffs, whether it's Boston and Miami already play good defense. Boston's defense hasn't been that great, but it's gonna go up a notch. Atlanta played really good defense against us when we played them last. I was really surprised. That's gonna go up a notch, right? So will the Knicks struggle? Because I still have concerns about the Knicks offensive. I've crossed over, and I'll say this. If you read Twitter, people in on the panels, if you look at these shows, people are still talking about the Knicks of February. Like people are still talking about how the Knicks look on paper. Like people are not talking about the Knicks as they are presently constituted. They have evolved as a team, right? This is not the team from January and February, and people are still talking about that team. Right? We have evolved. This is how we are right now. Now, I'm not saying we're perfect. I'm not saying we don't have adjustments we need to make, things we need to get better at. We do. But we're not that same team. So people, if you haven't already, it took me a little while. Come on over to this side. This is a different
I just
team.
think people, they used to the Knicks of old, playing well and then getting to the playoff and dissolving. I think it's honest for people to feel that way. But you have to believe in the team, and if you're a true Knicks fan, then you wanna go down fighting. But again, there's so many years of us playing up, and then we getting to this point, and letting things slip by. So that's probably why people are still talking that way.
Okay.
Yeah.
So look at the Knicks. We're talking about this Knicks team being a different team.
Mhm.
Look at the Knicks from December 23rd, which was the first game of the season, until April 7th. That's when we lost. That was the game we lost April 7th, 6th or 7th against Boston before we went on the 9-game winning streak. We were 25 and 27 at that time, 2 games under 500. We were scoring 108.6 points per game, which was 23rd in the league. We were holding teams to 107.6 points per game, which was 4th in the league. And the difference was less than a point. So those games were tight games. The Knicks couldn't make a mistake. You couldn't make a turnover. Like you couldn't. There was no room for error. I remember, and this was early in the season. Tibbs made a substitution. This was like maybe my first couple of shows on Nothing But Knicks. Tibbs made a substitution on an inbound play, and we turned the ball over. And I was mad at Tibbs. I was like, look, the margins are slick right now. We can't make no mistakes, right? But since that time, in April 8th to the present, 10-1, scoring 118.7 points. Now, there's 2 overtime games in there for sure. And giving up a little more points defensively, 100 and holding teams to 109.6 points, so 110 points as opposed to 108 points. But look at the difference. 9.1 points. You can breathe a little bit. You can make a mistake and be able to come back, when you're scoring. It takes a lot of pressure off of your defense when you're putting points on the board.
But also you got to look at who's in the game, Steph. You got to look at who was in the game prior to and who has been in the game in the crucial moments and in the fourth quarter now. His guys, the people he trusts. Rose has transitioned to our fourth quarter guy. Sometimes he's the third into the fourth quarter guy. So that gives us that cushion because he knows when to turn it on and when he needs to score and when he needs to get certain people there, into their spots. So you have to look at that. Like we a different team when he's in the game.
So you're saying we're scoring more points because of Rose, or partly because of Rose. Okay, I mean that's
because I think when we have Peyton in the game, I think Peyton is not really looking to. I don't know what he's doing sometimes. I don't know if he's looking to move the offense or he's looking to score and play the D so nobody won't talk about him the next day. But I just see a little more fluidity when Rose is in the game. I see people kind of really knocking their shots down and being in good positions for him to even get. I mean, I think he's like averaging like 8 or 9 assists right now. Like he's putting those people where they need to be.
Yeah. If you are a Rose fan, check out JD Sports Talk video. He did a great video on Rose.
And he's showing he still got it. He scores differently now, but he still got it.
And talking of JD, thank you for the super chat, JD Sports Talk. What player do you Queens think benefit the most from this mini break? Burks, Rose, Randall, Noel. Many candidates when it comes to rest, LOL. So I believe he's referring to the point that we played Wednesday, and we don't play again until Sunday, right? And when Sunday comes, it's on, right? A 6-game West Coast trip. Who do you think Chris benefits the most from this break?
I think Randall does. Because there was times that I think we were talking and said that, we weren't sure if Randall was tired or, taking shots off or whatever. And also the fact that, Obi has been giving him some quality minutes so he can rest now. And I think it only benefits us the more rest that we can get him because, he really doesn't get a chance to sit down and take a breather.
Yeah, I think it benefits. Yeah, I guess I would agree. I would say Randall, but I think they all taking
They
advantage
all
of
do.
it for
I'm
sure.
hoping Burks gets some rest so he could come back doing what he was doing because we missed that shot.
Yeah, definitely, definitely. Shout out to Sergeant Knicks fan G Man for life for the super chat. Appreciate you.
Yeah, G
Knicks
man.
family, support this outstanding platform. Great content all around. We are all we got. Great show, Queens. Looking forward to Sunday. And ladies, make
Yes.
your way to other platforms. We value your takes. Knicks love.
Okay.
Peace. Appreciate you. Appreciate you. Always. Um, where were we as far as the defense? Um,
You were talking about the
it's harder to
expectations in the
score.
playoffs.
Yeah, it's
You
just
know the
harder to
levels in the
score.
playoffs.
Yeah, the
Yeah.
defense picks up. It's harder to score. The Knicks now are scoring, I think it was 118, 119 points per game since April.
Hmm.
But the defense is going to get tougher. Do you
Yeah.
think we are past our offensive woes? Like if you saw, we were only scoring like 110 points before we went on this break. Do you think that we've kind of crossed over and this is who we are offensively going forward? Or do you see us reverting back to,
No, I don't think so. I think the mere fact that Tibbs had to call a blackout because they were going in and they were practicing at night and practicing as much as they can getting shots up. I think the ultimate goal is for them to get better. So a lot of their shots is unconscious when you're shooting because there's so many repetitions. So I can only see us going up. And I'm hoping that, they did get some rest these days that we're off, but they were able to put some shots up. Because when you rest and you don't really put it up, sometimes you lose your legs. So I just hope that they took their moments and they spaced it out and got some rest, but then also put up some shots as well.
all righty. That's um so yeah, that's basically what I wanted to do for this segment, just to basically talk about the reason why I didn't want the Knicks to play a playoff team, a team with playoff experience. But then after going through the different factors and what's different about the playoffs and the regular season, I think the Knicks are going to be okay. Now, I'm not
Yeah,
saying by any stretch that
we're gonna
guarantees
blow
a
anybody out.
win. Right, right. But I'm now not concerned about playing Boston or Miami. It's going to be a dog. I do have concerns about Miami, but not because they're a playoff team. It's just that their defense is when they play us, it just seems to be so on point.
Yeah,
And the both games we played, maybe both games, but I know the last game we played, they were able to take RJ like out of the game. And
yeah,
that's what
yeah,
happens in the playoffs because of the intensity, because people ratchet up the defense, at least because it's more physical. Players that showed up for you in the regular season, it's harder for them to show up in the playoffs because now they're playing tougher defense. Teams are keying on them. And usually it's your stars that are able to play through that and kind of still produce, even if they're not as efficient. And your secondary and tertiary players, sometimes they get lost, especially
yeah,
if you're on the road and you don't really get anything,
yeah,
and you don't get anything from them.
yeah. I think he
Miami did
played
that for
well.
us. Say that again.
I think he played well. I think he was picking his shots and he was playing within the flow. He wasn't really trying to force anything.
Yeah.
So if he kind of stays in that realm, he should be okay. But he do kind of get lost in the offense. It's like he either is in foul trouble or he can't hit the side of a barnyard. It's one of the two. But
This
I
is
think
this is
now,
RJ.
yeah, RJ. And I think once he keeps playing the way he's playing now, he should be all right. But I definitely know that they're gonna probably force him more than they force Randall in the playoffs. I think they're gonna try to hold Randall, see what RJ could do. Because he hasn't
Right.
showed that he's really been consistent. Maybe these couple games, but can you continue to do that?
But do you think that works against him? The fact that he plays within the flow of the offense and he doesn't come out of it. Like, do you think that it's easy to take somebody like that out of a game because they're not going to do anything extra? They're not going to force the issue.
I think he plays within the game because he already know that Randall's on time. But I feel like if Randall's out of the game, then he has to show up. And that's something that he has to put in his mind that he has to do. Like, look, they doubling Randall. He can't get open. Okay, it's time for me to shine. And I think that's something that he has to want to do. I don't think, it's something you can teach. I think it's something that he has to do.
And I hope he does. I think that those
Yeah.
moments are going to come in the playoffs where he's going to have
Yeah.
to be a little more aggressive
Because if
and a
he
little
want
more
the
assertive.
respect, he got to show it.
That's a good point. But that's my Miami is probably a team I wouldn't want to face, and not just that.
Yeah.
Spoelstra is a very good coach,
Yeah.
and they come with things that they weren't even doing in the regular season. They just bringing it out just for us. You know what I mean? So he's
And they
very
got some good
creative,
shooters too. They got some
right?
great shooters.
Right. But Hero is not playing as well this year as he's played last year. And Miami is not playing as well as they played.
Yeah.
But
But
they'll
people
be
turning
ready in the
up for the
playoffs for
playoffs.
sure.
Exactly. That's what I'm about to say.
They'll be ready. They'll be ready in the playoffs. But yeah, I could go without seeing Miami, and that's not because of their playoff experience. That's just about them as a team. They're like a mirror image of us, with people like Butler, who's been in that
Mm-hmm.
situation before. So um, we'll see. We'll see. Let's talk a little bit about the rookies shortly, and then we'll get into our upcoming slate of games. Uh, this is what I want to point out, just real quick for me. I like the way IQ is playing. He's playing within himself. He's taking good shots. Um, he may, take a shot here and there that may not be a good
Questionable.
shot, right? But who doesn't, right? But who
Yeah.
doesn't? Obi, um, I'm liking what I'm seeing out of Obi. He's averaging only about 10 minutes a game, right? But he getting them shots up though. He getting those shots up. Obi look at that. I think in Toronto he played 11 minutes, 5 shots. Phoenix, he
Mm-hmm.
might have played 9 minutes, 5 shots. Chicago, 10 minutes, 4 shots. And he's hitting them 3 of 5, 3 of 5, 2 of 4. So what's that saying to me is usually when the ball came to him, it was like a hot potato. He couldn't get it out of his hand fast enough to swing it back to the next person, right? But now when he gets the ball, if he has the shot, he's going to take it. Like he's not going to give up a good look. And that's what you see in these 5 shots a game and these limited minutes. I don't get the sense when I'm watching him that he's forcing it.
No.
He's taking it within the flow of the offense, but he's taking it. He feels more comfortable in the offense to take those shots as opposed to, oh, I don't want to make a mistake. Let me get this
Yeah.
ball out of my hand. And Tibbs is going to tighten the rotation. I don't know if Obi is going to be in that rotation. I think Quickly will be in the rotation, but I
Yeah.
think Quickly will have a short leash in the
Yeah.
playoffs. What's your
Yeah.
take on IQ and Obi this week? And what do you think about whether or not they'll play in the playoffs?
I think they're gonna give us the same thing they've been giving us for these games that's coming up. As far as the playoff goes, I think if Robinson is back, then we probably won't see Obi. And that's honestly how I feel because I think Tips trust him in these games, but I don't know if how the playoffs go. That's big. Like he's playing starstruck when he first came in, and he was just like you said, like a hot potato. So that playoff might be something else. So I don't see him playing, and if he is playing, I don't really see him getting that many minutes. Maybe a couple minutes here and there, probably like he was playing initially. Um, I think that Quick is going to get some time, and the reason why I say Quick is going to get some time because we have guards that get into foul trouble. Rose was even in foul trouble the other day. So these things, RJ is going to be in foul trouble. So I think because of the guard rotation, I'm not sure where Burks is at. So I think he's going to get some time. So the odd man out may be Obi.
Obi may be the odd man out.
Yeah.
This is Quickly stats this week. And And his points don't even tell the story. Toronto, he had 6 points. Phoenix, he had 11 points. Chicago, he had 13 points. And one of those games, I want to say it was Toronto. We were up by 5 going into the fourth quarter.
And he took
Quickly
over.
hit a three. Boom, up
Mm-hmm.
by 8. I think it was the first shot of the fourth quarter.
Mm-hmm.
In the Chicago game, we were up by 1 coming into the fourth quarter. He hit like 11 points within like the first 6 or 7 minutes. Next thing you know, we up 7, 8 points, and Chicago was done. Like I didn't see at that time that they had any fight to try to get back into the game. So he's been shooting well for us, and the times that he's hitting shots have been, good for us. He didn't shoot that well from the. Wow, he didn't shoot that well from the 3-point line in the Chicago game. 1 for 5.
But that one he hit, he was at the Garden of the Madison Square Garden little logo on the side. We needed that.
Right. We needed that. Yeah, definitely. So okay. Thumbs up. I don't have a thumbs down. I don't have a thumbs down this week. The Knicks were 9-1. I mean, not 9-1, 2-1 this week. I didn't really have a thumbs down, but I had a thumbs up though. And my thumbs up was just the Knicks' toughness.
Yeah.
Not just this week, not just over the 9-game winning streak. I'm not gonna say the whole season. I think they had to evolve into it. But where they are now, thumbs up to the Knicks resolve.
Yeah.
I mean, they lost that 15-point lead to Phoenix. They were still in there scraping. Toronto played us well up until 3 quarters or what have you. The Knicks stayed in it. They were pushing them off their spots. It wasn't easy for the Knicks to score. The Knicks are just going to stay in the game. They're going to stay in the game until it breaks in their favor. I love that about this team. I don't see this team getting blown out in the playoffs at all. I'm not saying that we won't lose, but I don't see us getting blown out. I don't see the playoffs being too much for this team, right? And you can tell the difference between a team that loses a game or a series because they didn't execute, they didn't get the stops they needed to get, and a team that loses because the lights are too bright, right? They turning the ball over. Shooting air balls. You could tell they're just not in sync. And then you could say, you know what? I think this moment is too much for them. I don't think that's going to be the issue with the Knicks. If the Knicks lose, it's going to be for different reasons, not because the lights are too bright. What do you think about that?
I agree. I think the only thumbs down I had is that Randall got into something with a couple of Toronto players telling them, "Oh, you can't F with me." And I just was trying to say, you know what? Be humble. You know what I'm saying? Be humble. Just play your game. And I think he kind of got into that with them in Toronto. And then in Phoenix, he was kind of being pushed around and stuff like that. So I just think for him and for the team, period, because I think that after you win so many games and you start to get that confidence and you get a little cocky, you start talking a little bit, you start posting stuff, And I just think that if you have a bigger picture, then you need to stay around with what the bigger picture is and keep your focus on that. All of that other stuff that's coming in the game, because you could have got a technical, could have changed the whole dynamics of the game. Just kind of stay into what we're doing and don't get into that back and forth and talking and stuff like that, and just play a game. That's
you
it.
think he lost focus though? Because I kind of.
But I just feel like him talking that is what geared Chris Paul to do what he did in Phoenix. I don't know if you saw that part. I don't know if you saw that part. So when I look at the game, I look at little things like that. Like he was talking crap to them, like, "Oh, you can't F with me, you can't F with me, y'all can't hold me, whatever." And then, Chris Paul, when he was hitting his shots, he started saying like, "Yeah, what these, So I just think, we just play. Just play. Just play.
Yeah, I hear you. I mean, I think in that Phoenix game, they came in having lost 2 straight. They wanted that game bad. And I don't know if Randall spurred them on a little bit. Maybe it did, but I think they were motivated to get off of that snide. But
probably so. But I'm just saying, really, realistically, I just think if that's what our focus is, then that'd be our focus. Don't give anybody other ammunition to come in and try to, try to beat us up.
Right. I hear you. I hear you. Okay. All right. Um, so yeah, my thumbs up is the Knicks toughness, man. I think that's what has me confident about this team. And again, when I'm looking at the playoffs, I think the Knicks can win in the first round and give us whoever they have in a second round matchup a tough way to go.
Yeah,
Um,
yeah.
I know DX Jetty had him. He didn't want to say how far they went, but he was saying that he think they're gonna make a run deep into the playoffs. I
Yeah,
think if there's
yeah,
injuries, I could see the Knicks in the Eastern Conference Final with the injuries.
yeah,
I
yeah.
I just don't see them in that second round playing Milwaukee or Brooklyn or
You never know. You
Philly.
could catch somebody, stuff.
Yeah,
4 games
yeah.
is, you never know what can happen. There was teams that was up 3-1, 3-0, and came back and lost. So you never know.
Anything is possible for sure. Yeah, for sure.
Exactly.
For sure. All right. Let's get into our next slate of games. Shout out to the chat. I appreciate you for hanging out with us. Those that's listening to us on your way to or from work, appreciate you. If you're listening to us
Yeah.
while you're cleaning your car or cleaning the house, which I do. If I miss an NBK podcast, I'll have it on while I'm driving someplace, video cast, or if I'm cleaning up. So I appreciate you if you're listening to us that way. All right. The upcoming week.
Games, yeah.
So the Knicks are on a 6-game road trip. And by the time we meet again next Friday, they would have played these 3 games. Houston, we play Sunday, right? They're 15-47. They're last in the Western Conference. The last 10, 1-9, lost 5 straight. But I think, though, if I'm not mistaken, they beat the Golden State Warriors last night, I believe. So I think I may have
Wow.
done this before that game. And
Mm.
they scored 142 points or something like that in that game. They're not going to score anything close to that against the Knicks. And that's not going to happen. But it just goes to show on any given night.
Yeah, that's what I'm saying. Any given night,
On any
somebody can
given
show
night,
up.
right? But I think if the Knicks show up, business, to take care of business, I
Yeah,
think they beat Houston. But it just goes to show that Houston is still scrapping. They're not laying
yeah.
down. They're still trying to win games. Wall is out for the season. I'm not sure about Wood, if he played last night or if he's playing, because he's been in and out throughout the season with injuries. I believe, I want to say, what's his name? Porter? What's his name? Houston picked him up after Cleveland dropped him with some locker room issues earlier. Had a big game.
Yeah. Porter Jr.
Okay, Kevin Porter Jr. Yeah, he had a good game for them. I wanted the Knicks to pick him up around that time, but it is what it is. So we play Houston.
Denver.
Yeah. Then we play Memphis. I think we play
Yeah, Memphis
Memphis.
first.
We play Memphis. I think it's Monday. But Memphis right now is 31-30. They're in the 8th seed in the West. Over their last 10, they're 5-5. They lost 2 straight. So they're going to be motivated coming into this game. We beat them on April 9th. If you remember, that was the first game of the 9-game winning streak. And we were seemingly dead in the water, down by double figures. I think even in the fourth quarter, either the third or the fourth quarter, down by like 13 points. And the Knicks came back to push that game into overtime, and we won. I couldn't believe it. When we came back and went into overtime, and we won, and then that was the beginning. And that's another, indication of the Knicks' resolve. They were they came into on a 3-game losing streak, right? But in their mind, I'm sure they're saying to myself, we want to get to the 4th seed. You
You
have
gotta
to
play.
turn this
Yeah.
around. And they fought in that game, and they fought in that game, and they fought in that game, and they came back and pushed it into overtime and won. And that was the beginning again of our 9-game winning streak. So Memphis is going to be ready. Jaren Jackson is back. Their big man is back. Um, it's I'm not sure we get that. I think we get Houston. I think we even get Denver. I'm not sure about that. That
Yeah,
Memphis.
Memphis is tough.
Um, we'll see. And then the last game of this series, which is Wednesday, we play Denver. Denver is 41-21. They're fourth in the West. Their last 10, they're 7-3. That's without Jamal Murray, right? So they're still finding ways to win.
Yeah, they picked up Rivers.
Did they?
I believe they picked
I
up
know they were
Rivers. I
talking
believe
about
so.
it. I'm not sure if it happened.
I think I saw like a thing where he said, thank you, Denver. I think so.
Okay. Um, we lost to them. We played them January 10th. Not this new Knicks team, but this is where we were back then. We lost to them January 10th, 89-114. So this is a different team, right? This is a different team that's going to play them. I have concerns about playing Jokic. I think Taj, may help. Noel is kind of thin. This guy can hit the three. He can, he can post.
Yeah.
He can, basically look over the top. If you double him, he's looking over the top of the defense to find who's open. If you don't double him, then Taj or Noel is going to have to play him by himself. I think that's going to be tough for us. But I like us better in the Denver game than I do in that Memphis game. Believe it or not.
Yeah.
These
I got us 2-1.
2-1, right?
Yeah,
Now,
I got us 2-1.
We'll be back next week to talk about these games, but I just a quick preview because the Knicks are going on a 6-game winning streak, and I think 5 of these games are within a week. But Phoenix, we're playing May 7th, 44-18, 7-3 over the last 10. One of those wins is against us. They beat us on the 26th, 110 to 118. So I think the Knicks will be prime and ready for that game. And then we play the Clippers and the Lakers. We played Clippers next Sunday the 9th on ESPN, nationally televised game. The Clippers were 7-3, lost 2 straight. They beat us on the 31st, 129 to 115. I think the game was closer than that. And then we play the Lakers next week, Tuesday, 36-26. They're in 5th place in the West. And I think AD is back. I think LeBron may be back by that time as well. But we'll go over those last 3 a little more in depth on our next show. Okay. Any last thoughts, last words?
Let's go Knicks.
Let's go.
Yeah, I just wanna see a good week. I think with me and the winning streak, I'm kind of expecting a lot from them. So as a Knicks fan, we always expect more, and I'm just hoping that they stay in that consistency that they've been and not disappoint us. Because I'm definitely looking at 2-2. The following week, I think we probably get one of them, but I don't know. We could catch somebody slipping one day, so we'll see. Because the next 2 weeks, I got them 3-3.
Yeah, we got 9 games left in the season. The Knicks go 6-3.
Yeah, that's what I think. 6-3.
I'll be happy. Fourth seed. Basically, it's with this stretch coming up, the 6-game away, 6-game away, 3 games at home. Right? I think it's 3 games when we get back. Can we maintain that 4th seed given this schedule? Because when we come back, Boston is not going to be an easy game. Charlotte may have all back. They may have Hayward. Is Hayward out for the season? I don't think he is. They may have Hayward back. That may not be.
And Melo.
Right, and Melo. Right. That may not be. None of those are going to be easy games. So if the Knicks want to maintain the 4th seed and home court advantage, they're going to have to take care of business over this 9-game
Yeah.
winning streak. Even though they're playing tough teams out west, they can't just go. They can't go 1-5 and expect to hold on to the 4th seed.
No, we're not looking for 1-5.
No, we're not looking for it, but they cannot. Somebody said LeBron returns tonight. Okay.
Oh wow! But that doesn't mean he
He
got
might
to
be on
get
a
his
minutes
legs under him.
restriction.
Yeah. He might be on a minute. So hopefully he's still on it when we play him.
Yeah, LeBron, I needed you on my fantasy team. Don't come back now. Don't come back now. Anyway, Knick family, thank you so much for hanging out with us, kicking it with us. Have a great week. Stay safe. Stay safe. We'll see you, we'll see you next Friday. Peace. That's the